Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to another Room to Breathe podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so happy that you've made space to be here with us today. Now, before we get into this episode, I need you to do me a quick favor. If you're feeling the vibe, go ahead and show us some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, and be sure to share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the follow button, subscribe to our channel, so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you will find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch, as well as free resources to nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, reflect, to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly for you. And if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop those green hearts in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I am healing, I'm growing, and I'm showing up for me. Now let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Now, as you know, our theme this month is the language of love. We're talking about healing hearts and all the lessons learned. And today's conversation sits right at the intersection of faith, partnership, and intentional connection. We often talk about love as a feeling, but today we're going to talk about love as a language that you learn, practice, and grow fluent in over time. And to help us unpack that, we have two amazing voices in the room joining us today, whose ministry has helped couples all over the world build marriages rooted in God's design, emotional safety, and a sacred partnership. Family, please help me welcome Gil and Renée Beavers of the R.I.C.H Relationships Refuge into the Room to Breathe. Hello.
Hello.
While we were listening to you, I just went,
yes, that's what it's all about. Yes, it's a good old woosah, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to be reminded that regardless of what's going on, just stop and take a breath.
Absolutely. It's one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is just breathe. Yeah. And again, I just want to thank each of you, both of you, for joining us today. Before we dive in and really get into your story, I always like to check in with the soul. So I'm going to start by asking you both, how's your spirit doing today?
My spirit is overwhelmed with gratitude and God's presence.
And I can say peace. You know, that's one thing, especially after a hectic day and you've been ripping and running and just this time where you just got to stop and I would say take a breath, but you already said it so eloquently, just to stop and breathe for a minute before you do anything else.
Absolutely. That is an amazing attitude. And I think that is such a great feeling when you finally kind of step into that peace, because I think a lot of us live in chaos.
Yeah.
So having that peace is amazing.
It's amazing how you got to fight to have it sometimes.
Yes. And once you get it, you got to fight to hold on to it.
Well, you just finished that so good.
Yeah. So let's just start at the beginning for you guys. How did you two meet, and what was it about, each other that made you pause and say, there's something here?
We always talk about this when this question comes up, and when we ask other couples this, we always look at each other and see who starts first. And whoever starts first usually tell their narrative. But ours is pretty accurate, because I would say the reason we are together is because of Renee and a pencil.
A pencil?
A pencil.
I'm confused. Yeah. Tell me about this pencil, Renee.
We're in a summer program in Detroit, which is where we're both from.
And this is when we were 14 and 15?
Yeah, 14, 15. And basically, in the summer program, you worked cutting down bushes and weeds. And then there was a part of the class where you learned about interviewing and job etiquette. And we were in this class together. And I was sitting in the classroom and Gil walked in. And as he walked in, I caught he caught my eye. And I was like, how do I get his attention? And in a matter of seconds, I was like, if I roll my pencil off the desk, that'll get his attention. So I rolled my pencil off the desk and I gestured as if I was going down to pick it up. And he went down with me, and he's like, I was going to say hi to you. And he handed me the pencil. I said, I was going to say hi to you, but I wasn't sure if you would say hi back. And he said,
I always say hi to lovely young ladies.
And I've been in love with him ever since.
Listen.
I can't say I had game or anything like that, but I just was responding to this beautiful woman. So.
No, I think Renee had the game. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, you know what? You're the first person that ever said that. So
yeah.
now I'm like,
the game recognized game.
Yeah, sis,
that's
what I'm saying.
Wait a minute. I didn't have none. So just for you to point, you're the first that ever pointed that one out.
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad that you were picking up what she was putting down.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's our pastor's favorite saying. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, he was picking up what I put down.
Yeah.
And it has been a lifelong journey of pursue and responding with a positive acceptance.
I have to pause there. It wasn't positive. It wasn't all positive now.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the summer, I basically said, you know what? I live on the east side of Detroit. You live on the west side of Detroit. And I think we should break up and go our separate ways, because you may have someone you want to date and I may have someone I want to date in high school. And I don't want to feel like I'm cheating on you. So I think we should break up. And she cussed me out.
I wasn't saying
up one side and down the other. That west side cuss out. You know, I mean, if you're not from Detroit, if you're from Detroit, you know what I'm talking about. And so that was. So when she said, it was just like, oh, so no, it didn't feel nice right then and there. Because
we've had our share of difficulties and growth moments and fallouts and, breakups and misunderstandings, as any relationship would. Yeah. But I think about it overall, it's all made both of us better as individuals as well as a couple. And so I appreciate what you said, because I think I didn't realize there's so many things about the way we're wired that we don't recognize until you look back on it. Like, I was probably maybe 40 when I realized that Gil's decision to not date me and someone else spoke to his character. It spoke to the kind of man he was going to become. Whereas I also realized my quick-wittedness and my ability to solve problems in an instant has something that's always been there, which is a matter of learning to leverage it in a way where it's being beneficial and not manipulative, because I have used it in the wrong way as well.
No, I 100% understand. And, every couple, like you said, has a season that shapes them. Oh, yeah. And so it's just the, growth, I think, rarely comes wrapped in comfort. So we have to go through, different seasons within our relationship. But at some point, I think that every couple hits the realization, okay, it's something bigger than us, it's something worth fighting for. And so I guess that leads me to ask you, when did you first recognize that your relationship wasn't just a partnership, but a ministry, something that God was calling you to not only go through together, but then to share with others?
I think when we first got together as boyfriend, girlfriend, we were really just trying to get to know each other. So we spent a lot of time, because we are a retired military family. So our very first duty assignment was Minot, North Dakota. So that is in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota. And you go from the east and the west side of Detroit to Minot, North Dakota, where there's very few people of color there. It makes you bond together. And so we really spent, I would really say, that first year really bonding together, getting to know each other, and really dedicating our time together. You were going to say?
I think that our first because we dated for 3 years before we got married. And even in our dating stage, and I look back on it, we spent a lot of time
talking.
I don't know, there's a magazine that had like how well do you know the person you're dating? And a lot of the questions it was asking, like, who is their favorite family member, and what's their most traumatic childhood, memory. We had already asked those kind of questions of each other. And so I think that even when we got married, it was really more about us then becoming going from two individuals to becoming one person, one mission, one voice, even in our differences. And I think that probably happened more so.
I would say I was getting ready to kind of extend on what you were just saying. In that 3-year time frame where the Bible says the two shall become one, well, we had already started becoming one before we even said those vows on our wedding day. And I think what really translated from us becoming one is when, like you mentioned about the ministry portion, people kept coming to us. All we did was spend that year, or actually, really, you can say those 4 years, 3 years boyfriend, girlfriend. Then that first year of being married, really getting to know each other even more as a one, as opposed to two individuals coming together. And then it's funny because my supervisor at that time had asked me, you come back from your honeymoon and everybody wants to give you advice when you're a newlywed. If they've been married for 5 minutes, they want to tell you the best piece of advice.
Right.
And he was like, you know what? If you want to get married, we say, if you want to have a good marriage, you just need to work on your marriage. And I said, yeah, okay. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? And I'm like waiting for him to elaborate on something. And he gave me nothing, not a book to read, not a piece of advice, not a word of wisdom, nothing. So that resonated with me, and I stuck that in the back of my mind. I said, you know what? I come from a divorced household, and Renee's parents were never married. So we really didn't have role models or examples of what it looked like in-house, so we had to figure a lot of things out on our own. And I think we did, because very soon after we got married, people started seeing how we interacted, other couples that we got together with as young people, and they would always know that there was something different about how we just lived life compared to how they did. And they started asking us questions. Well, and we really didn't know we had nothing figured out. We were just treating each other with some basic fundamental respect and honor and dignity and kindness. And, the Bible talks about it in the fruits of the Spirit. And I think we resonated some of those things, even though at the very beginning of our relationship, we weren't believers. Because things of God, you can manifest those things in your life, even if you haven't given your life to Christ. Peace, love, and joy, as an example, those are just inherent fruits of the Spirit that are just there. But you can still manifest them. They just get, I think, more better or more refined when you give your life to Christ. Now you got some impact and some power behind it. So people started asking us ministry-wise, what are y'all doing, and that kind of thing. So we really started investing time in trying to figure out, what is it that we are doing? Yeah.
Getting training. I remember our first church we went to so we were from Germany, from Minot to Germany. And then we got sent back to the States because Gil's mom had cancer. And we stayed in Detroit, and we went to
first we went to
Upper
Michigan, Marquette, Michigan.
And our church was called Living Faith. And our pastor was like, I want you guys to do a message. And we both had to do a message. And I'm like, teach a message? What are you talking about, teach a message? But that began to become a part of what we understood as just normal. To be able to give an account for the hope you have inside of you, to be able to share a message. And I did my message on history, on Jesus, on who he was, that our history was in him. And then I think the next time I did the message, it was about Ruth. And so for us, the Bible has, once we gave our hearts to the Lord, became a very fundamental part of how we viewed the world and where we came up with how we were going to do things from. While we did look at a lot of television, and that was kind of like our image, but the character and the foundation for how we learned to interact with each other was really rooted in the Bible. And so from that, it just kind of happened where we realized that we're some of the things we were doing right, some of the things we were doing wrong. And so we started doing like Marriage on the Rock, getting couples together and, hey, let's listen to this tape together. Let's practice this together. And then we got to San Antonio years later, and that's where we really got training in marriage ministry. And that's where at Community Bible Church is where we got our foundation of training and ministry and marriage preparation.
Yeah, I think that calling that was over you is just so powerful. And I know that one of the things that you're known for is your rich framework. So let's talk about that. What inspired you to create the RICH model, which I believe is respect, intimacy, communication, and healing?
No. It is actually, the R stands for a resilient, integrity, humility, and character.
Oh my goodness, I completely messed that up.
Yeah,
but you know what?
okay.
Yours is
Yours
good
is good too. Because we call our friends our rich friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's understanding that those are fundamental things. In order for you to really be rich, you have to be resilient. In order for you to be rich, you have to have integrity. And you have to have character, and you have to have humility. And so the things that anchor, so I think that those are the fundamental things, but the byproducts of those are the things that you mentioned. And so I think it's a matter of understanding that every tree has a root system, and the leaves are great, but the leaves are going to fall off. But the roots are what are going to remain. And so your character, your humility, your resilience are the things that really are what anchor you. And so I think that it's important to understand we all have a root system, but we just need to know what that root system is and really nurture that.
And some of that came out of just understanding relationships at a basic level.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about all the things that you go through in relationships, those kind of filter back to those things that Renee just mentioned of the acronym for RICH. So when you think about how do we manifest those things in our life, it starts with the foundation, which for us is Christ. That's where we get our foundation. That's what we choose to follow as, and it's 37 years later, it's been very successful in helping us understand this whole thing called life and relationships. And when we kind of was doing some of the books, I'm kind of analytical by just how I'm designed. And so I'm always trying to re-engineer, because if you can't repeat something in relationship, even in relationships, how can, if you don't know what you did, how can you repeat it?
Yeah.
And have success? So what I did, I was like, well, let's look at our relationship and kind of reverse engineer and start pulling back some of the layers and saying, what is it at the nucleus of our relationship that makes it what it is? Not that we have the answers for everything, but what is it that is the essence of having a successful relationship? And those are the things that we kind of just realize and that we pick. Obviously, that list is exhaustive. Yeah. It doesn't just limit to those 4 things, but those things that we realize are very, very essential to a relationship.
So let's walk through these pillars so that way people can understand and really apply this in real life, starting with the R in RICH, which is resilience. In your experience, what does resilience look like in a marriage, especially when life gets, to life and right, when it gets tough and it really starts to test your relationship?
I think what it looks like is, because like for us, we have had some really big major
life,
like my mother was murdered by a serial killer when we first got married. Our daughter was a little baby, and my
1
mother,
year old. Yeah.
She wasn't even 1 yet. Yeah, she wasn't 1 yet. My mother got murdered by a serial killer, and we adopted my 9 and 10-year-old siblings.
But they were 8 and
they were 9,
8 and 9,
8 and 9-year-old siblings, and so that requires some ability to get knocked down and get up again. I think that the reason why resilience is so important is because it gives you the ability to be flexible. It gives you the ability to get knocked, just like those little, I don't know if you remember it, but back in the day, there was this toy kids used to play with. They hit it and it kept falling down and coming back up. So resilience gives you the ability to experience difficulty and be able to bounce back better than you were before, stronger than you were before, and expecting that you're going to get hit again. I think that without resilience, we have a very false expectation that everything is going to always be great and this person's always going to, make me smile and never disappoint me and never hurt me. But that's not realistic, because we're dealing with another human being who is just as hurt and broken as you are. So I think that without resilience, your relationship doesn't have what it takes to stand the test of time.
Absolutely.
And I think from the resilient aspect, we were 23 when all of that happened. So imagine being 23 with a 1-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And we are babies ourselves when we look at it now in comparison to things that what you go through. That's a part of resilience, when life gives you something that is way bigger than what you can say is beyond your skill. your experience, your tools,
your finances,
because we are broke. I mean, though all those things, you become very resilient, but also you can persevere through a lot of things, especially at that time. And it's weird because we gave our life to Christ soon before that. I mean, very soon.
like a month.
Yeah, like literally
in the same month. I got saved in that April.
Yep.
And then my mother got killed. By the end of the month, she was gone. And Gil I got saved, then Gil got saved, then my mom got killed. Then, because I already said that I wanted to just have one and adopt one, because I felt like so many people helped to raise me because of my mother's addiction, because she wasn't always there. It made me want to be able to give back to somebody else. And so I think that is something that I don't see a lot. And then when people say, oh, we love each other and we have great communication, but without resilience, those things really they have no foundation to lay on.
And I think because of that foundation, that resilience came back to us being able to stick together. Yeah. Where we've seen a lot of, especially in the military, a lot of divorce happens a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think probably even higher than the national average, because people get married through circumstances and situations because of wars and deployments and the young love and all those things. And they soon get divorced real quick after that I've seen over my 22 years in the Air Force. I've seen it all the time. So, and I know God had his hand on our relationship because of all the things and that groundwork that we laid to be resilient towards each other in our relationship. Me, basically that stick-to-itiveness.
We made a decision when we first got married that we would never use the D word, and that when we got married, it was going to be forever, no matter what. No matter what we experienced, no matter what we went through, we were going to not only be married, but enjoy being married. That was a decision we made at 21 years old, and we kept reminding each other. So we took the D word out of our vocabulary at the beginning. It was never to be spoken of. We don't even use that.
Even to this day.
To this day. We call it the D word. We don't even use it.
Yes. No, absolutely. I know when me and my husband got married, I told him that I would write 3 different stories. He got to choose which one we lived. I said it could be Snapped, First 48, or Happily Ever After. And he was like, oh, I'm going to go with Happily Ever After. I'm like, yeah, because this is it. We both have a previous marriage. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we came into this knowing exactly what we do not want, what we are not going to do. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just been really good. And so we're always that person. I'm like, well, what if I need space? And he's like, you better go in the other room, things like that. So I understand removing that from your vocabulary.
It makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that resilience gives marriages staying power, but integrity gives them direction. So let's go there. Yeah. How do you define integrity within a partnership, and how can couples stay aligned in their, with their values, even when emotions are running high?
Go ahead. You start. No, go ahead. Go.
I think of integrity.
I'm going to see if she's going to say what I'm going to say.
And our daughter, when she was little, we had it on our refrigerator. Integrity is doing what's right when no one is watching. And integrity is doing what's right when it's hard. Integrity is doing what's right when everybody else is doing the wrong thing. And integrity is doing what's right when what's wrong is easier and it's a habit. And I think that sometimes we allow our past experiences, the culture, our feelings to govern us versus having a sense of, I want who I am to be in private to be the same person I am in public. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that integrity is the ability to, when my husband is deployed, I'm not worried about who he's with or what he's doing. When he's deployed, he's not worried about who I'm with or what I'm doing, because he knows that I have integrity. He knows that what the image of who I am should reflect Christ in everything that I do. And that means a lot to me. And so that's to me what integrity is.
And we have this other acronym of HOT. Honest, open, and transparent. A lot of people have said it and use it, but that goes directly into that integrity element, because the very first part of it is you got to be honest with each other from day one. Because if you go building a relationship built on falsehoods or half truths or even just not true things, that's going to erode real quick. When people start finding out the real you behind the facade of what we present when we first get together, it can erode really, really fast if you haven't been honest up front at the very beginning. When we talk about being open, it's just that I need to be willing to share with Renee the things that are important, not just from a character perspective, but just in life and how I see things, my vision, the honesty, the integrity, and all the things that make up what R.I.C.H really is talking about. Because if I have those things and I'm displaying that to her, and she knows I'm being open with her and I haven't had any secrets, I don't have to remember, what did I say?
Yeah.
That is freedom in and of itself, and sometimes that transparency from the T, it can be aligned a lot with that openness, but transparency is me being able to be proverbially naked in front of Renee, that I don't have anything to hide,
Right.
because that communication part that we talked about a little while ago, about saying the things that are important, even when you don't think they are, is very, very essential. Because Renee has this one thing that she does with me that was transformative in our relationship. She changed from, hey, how do you feel about XYZ, to what are you thinking about? That allows me to be transparent, because my head and my heart is connected. I think about things, and then it's going to manifest those feelings in me first, it comes into mind. So when I do that, I can actually be transparent before her and saying, well, this is what I'm thinking about, and this is how I feel about the situation. And the more open and honest and transparent you can be with just your emotions and how you feel, is going to be huge dividends when it comes to your relationship.
Yeah, I think that level of alignment naturally shapes how we show up, right? Which flows perfectly into character. Character isn't always talked about in the context of relationships. Mm-hmm. So how does character inform the way that we love, we apologize, and lead, and also learn, right?
Yeah.
When I think of it, I think that a lot of people are a character and they may not necessarily have character. And I think that it's your values, it's your views, it's your beliefs, it's the things that you're afraid of, it's the things that, that they give you the power to move forward. And I think that when you get to know yourself, and I think that character is a big part of character, is you have to know yourself, you have to love yourself. You have to have an understanding that you were designed in the image and likeness of Christ. And so when your identity is attached to who Christ is, it allows your character to be unshakable. It allows your character to be something more than just what you drive and what you wear, what kind of house you live in. Mm-hmm. It's the essence of the real person that you are when everything else is stripped away. It's what makes you valuable that can't be bought or sold or purchased. It's how you show up in every facet of your life to the people that you love, and even to the people who are serving you. I think that the way you treat people who are serving you says a lot about your character. It says a lot about how helping someone who can't help you. That says a lot about your character. And so those things are all more internal, and it's the things that maybe someone may not say, but you have to watch what they're doing. I think that's where the character of a person is really experienced, is over time, and in the bad times, not just in the good times.
Because I think also it's a part of the essence of who you are as an individual. Just like the story we told about when we first got together, you're going to display those things at an early age. Some of it is environmental, some of it is just your upbringing, some of it, all those things go into make up who you are. But I think ultimately it comes back to you making a choice. Are you going to do, like the Bible says, right or wrong? It's real simple. He says, I place before you blessings and curses, life and death. So choose life. And it gives you the answer to the test. So it's like, choose the right way, choose the honest way, choose the positive way to do and to interact even in your relationships, because that's going to be the essence of how you build on that relationship over time.
And a good example of character to me, because I think sometimes we live in a generation where, like for me growing up, I grew up in Detroit and there were drug dealers, and there were guys who, and there's a difference between having a personality flaw and a character flaw. A personality flaw is just oh, maybe you used the wrong words when you talk to me, or maybe, you used the wrong tone. But character flaw is when you are intentionally finding illegal ways to gain what you could work for. That speaks to your character. Or when you're dating me and you're dating for other people, that speaks to your character. And so I think that it's important that we understand the difference between personality and character. And while your personality can grow and mature and change, your character is going to grow and mature and change. And what it is more than likely, it's your baseline.
Yeah.
Some people, even as a believer and they love Jesus, they still struggle with doing things that are illegal. And that's something that God has to really work out in you. And that takes time. And it's just a matter of when you realize that when you're getting into a relationship with someone and you have a high level of character and they have a low level of character, you're going to be unequally yoked. And that's what I think happens a lot of times, because we ignore those internal things that really are going to make your relationship, like you said, was the 3 shows you use. Those shows are based on the character of the people. It's not just a choice. If some people are just more bent towards chaos and confusion because they do things that are illegal and immoral. So they create this environment of chaos. And so those are the kind of things we have to think about in regards to ourselves. What's my character like? What am I like as a person?
Absolutely. I think that is so powerful. And I feel like it leads us straight into the heart posture that sustains love long term, right? Humility.
Yes.
I know that is a word that is often misunderstood, but it is so essential in a healthy relationship. How do you teach couples to practice humility in a way that invites healing and connection rather than creating an imbalance or silence?
I think one of the excuse me, I think one of the basics and the easiest way I think about humility is I came to serve. I have to look at my relationship with Renee to serve her more than myself. When I put myself last, I got to put everything that I want, even my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations, my goals, and all those things behind that of my wife and of my family. When I say, you know what, I'm here to serve them, my job and my responsibility is to make their life as easy as possible, in the physical, emotional, spiritual sense of the word. And I take that to heart, and when it's so difficult, I think in this day and time for people to think of themselves last, I think that's the essence of humility, is not thinking of yourself first. Self control is something that is not easily manifested, but selfishness comes out so easily in people that they don't even realize it, especially if they've been always only thinking of themselves in every capacity, that they don't even give a second thought. And you can even see it in sometimes parents are even putting their children behind themselves, not even just in a husband-wife relationship. So that was something that I always said, you know what? I believe that if I'm putting them ahead of me, just like Jesus put everybody ahead of him to serve, he said, I came to serve, not to be served. Same thing. So I think if I come to serve my wife, my family, my daughter, my children, my relatives, my coworkers, my boss, and in the natural sense of the word, God is going to take care of me. And I've seen it happen so many times where I don't think of myself first, even from a vocational aspect, from a relational aspect, from a financial aspect. When I think of putting the needs of others first, and it's hard, it's hard because you're human. It's our natural desires to think of ourselves and put our wants, desires, and needs first, and think like, I got to get mine first. Well, that doesn't necessarily work. And I found that if I did the opposite of that, it always worked out better in my favor.
I think of humility in 2 things. Humility is not thinking of yourself at all. It's thinking of yourself less. Because to not say you're not going to think of yourself is not realistic, but to think of others more and to think of what they need and what they want. It doesn't mean that what you want and need doesn't matter. It just means that it has to come second to. And I have watched Gil literally do this since we were dating. I've watched him with his mom and his sister and his grandmother and his neighbors. I've watched him put them before himself. And that's a blessing to me. So, and another thing that to me, when I think of humility, I think of it's hard to fall on your face when you're already on your face. I think that when you keep a posture of reverence for God and his holiness and his purpose, it naturally makes you realize how undone you are and how unworthy you are of any of the things that you get. And it makes you live your life in a posture of you first, Lord, and everybody else, and then me. And so it's a blessing to me. And I think that that is what is the difference between when you have a situation where it's escalated, when humility is ruling in your relationship. And it doesn't, that's never seen me that I'm always 100% humble and he's always 100. Sometimes I'm 10% humble and he's 90% humble. But it's always knowing that when humility is prioritizing your relationship, it gives you room for the other person to be human, but it also gives you room for you to be able to forgive and reconcile and understand and automatically, because we always say, I always credit him with wanting the best for me. Even when he disappoints me or hurts me, it's not on purpose, it's not intentional, it's because he's human. And so I think that when humility is a primary part of your relationship, even when you have disagreements, even when you're upset, humility has a way of calming you down and keeping things from getting escalated.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope y'all listening, because that was a word right there. Like that, the show's over, we're done. No, but in all seriousness, when thinking about the couples that you guide, what patterns are you seeing the most often in marriages today? And what truths do you wish that every couple held on to before they reach their breaking point?
I can go first.
Go for it. Yeah.
The most important thing, and I know it's going to sound so cliche, God created marriage. So the marriages that don't make it are the ones that don't include him. I don't mean you go to church and you pay your tithes and you speak in tongues. I mean that these things we're talking about are a part of your go-tos. Because when Christ is really Lord of your life, you can't say that you love God and you're serving him when you're, Galatians 5 talks about walking in the spirit and walking in the flesh. The things we're talking about to make your life rich is putting him first, putting yourself second, thinking about the fact that the decisions you make don't just affect you. Those vows that you took was not just between you and your husband, it's between you, your husband, and the Lord. And so to me, I think that the most important thing and the reason for the couples who make it and the couples who don't is when Christ is Lord, Savior, boss, protector, healer, daddy, God, everything, it makes everything else have its proper place.
And I think your relationship is not your own. We see a lot of couples, like you talked about, one of the trends we see a lot right now today is a lot of couples meeting each other online. They meet each other online, and I think I can't say it's bad and I can't say it's good. It's just a new way that things are just happening now. But one essence of just that meeting online has to be is when you do get together in the physical sense, you have to know that your relationship is not your own. Even though it was just two of you on that online session when you first met, there are so many other people outside of you that are connected to your relationship and your marriage that if something was to happen, you think about a divorce, even though we don't use the D word, how many people are going to be affected by that? Yeah. One, by being a product of it, as a collateral damage from it, from me my mom and dad weren't thinking about, maybe they were, but it wasn't enough to keep them together that they thought about the kids and how it was going to affect them on the long term. Or how many friends did they lose that they had in common together? How did that affect their finances? How did that affect just their lifestyle? So it's a sense of death too. When you have a divorce in your relationship, that's the death of a marriage, and so there's a grieving process that actually goes through it. So that means there's some healing that has to happen on the individual on the inside to know that even if the other person was 100% responsible, you still are hurt from it. You still have collateral damage from it. And even if not, you still have a part in the dissolvement of the relationship. So that's a sad time, regardless of how it ended. It got together in a good sense, or you wouldn't have gotten married in that first sense. So when you see it happen, that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize, not because of divorce, but I'm just talking about in the bigger sense of your marriage and your relationship is not just your own. So if I had to say one thing that I could say that they have to think about is my relationship is more than just me and my significant other and my partner.
You're standing before God.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that a lot of people, think about that. Even, the merging of families.
Oh yeah.
You have, this family and this family who have now come together. And then when you split, it's awkward. It's like,
Yeah.
who do we go to? Who do we get?
Am I still a part of this family
Yeah.
environment? You've been getting together for years on the holidays. Now all of a sudden, is that over?
Yeah.
Then you throw some kids in the mix. Grandparents, just because you parents went their separate ways, how do you navigate that? So it doesn't just affect you.
Yeah. And I think that many couples know what they want in their relationship, or I'll say they know what they want their relationship to look like, but they struggle with the daily habits, that it takes to get them to that. What are some practical and everyday practices that couples can start implementing right now to create their own rich relationship?
I think the first thing is to have a good awareness of your own growth areas and strengths. I'm very much aware of the things that I bring to our relationship that can be very unhealthy. And so I'm constantly examining myself and I'm checking myself against the word of God. And when I look at something that the word says, I shouldn't let no corrupt communication come out of your mouth, be angry and sin not. I'm looking at those things for me. So I think that it's really important, especially as women of color, that we manage and navigate and are aware of the areas of ourself that need to grow, and that we don't put the responsibility for our happiness or our joy or our value or identity on another human being. Because I think that it's unrealistic to think that I'm going to get married and then all of those holes that were in my heart from my childhood are going to be erased because I say some vows. It's not. It takes time. And I think that unfortunately, again, going back to resilience, we don't give it time for God to work things out in us, for us to see what a 37-year marriage looks like, because in 15 minutes, I'm done. I'm over this.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just understanding that we got to spend time. And like for me, I have to spend time with God every single day. I cannot go a day without reading the word and 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of worship, 10 minutes of praying. We need that every day. So that's one of the things I would say is really important to me as a woman with a very strong personality.
And I would say for the guys specifically, we're called to lead. The way that looks in our everyday life, whether it's on your vocation, whether it's in your family, especially in your relationship, everything starts with me. From the tone in the household to the leadership spiritually to the financial, all those things. Now, wifey or wifey may make more money at the same time, but I'm still ultimately responsible for my household. God is looking at me first. So I think one of the daily practices is to pray for my family constantly, continuously, consistently. And even if myself, if I know I'm short a little bit, or as a growth area of mine is leadership, that should be something that I'm seeking and pursuing and trying to get better at, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a book, whether it's a course, whether it's something, or reaching out. You can reach out to us. I don't say I got all the answers, but I'll share with you what I know. You have to seek out that leadership if you know that is something that, whether you struggle with it or you really don't know how, that is something that God is expecting. So seek that out from the guy's perspective.
Absolutely. And I know that your work often highlights the importance of friendship in marriage as well. How does nurturing genuine friendships between partners strengthen the resilience, build trust, and support long-term connection?
Gil is my best friend. If I was going to cheat on Gil, I would talk to Gil. I talk to him about everything, my fears, my dreams, my hopes, the things I like, the things I don't like. No, I don't share all the things I don't like at one time. But we have the kind of relationship and we have built this over time. And we started off just being hot, honest, open, and transparent. And I think that the way you are with your girlfriends, where you can just let your hair down and you can just be yourself, and you're not too much and you're not too little. We've built that with each other, and that's something the Lord showed me. You can't expect for him to know how to deal with your emotions and your hopes and your dreams if you don't share them with him. So we had to learn what the Bible says, when you get married, you leave your mother and father and you cleave. We literally did that. We went from our parents being our go-to and our girlfriends and our cousins to us being our go-to. So I think that's just a practical way. You have to shift your attention and your focus to your mate and develop that. It's not going to just happen because years go by. It's because you have to be intentional about making him the person other than the Lord that I go to for everything.
And I would say community is essential to your growth. Mm-hmm. Outside of you two, yes, Renee and I have spent a lot of time investing in our relationship with each other. But I didn't realize, I would say within the last maybe 3 or 4 years, how important community is.
Friendships.
And friendships are to our marriage. Yeah. You know, while it's great to be by yourselves with just you and him or him and her, but you need people outside of you to have that just like me factor, not from the negative sense, but to be around people who love being married, who love each other, who are trying to pursue the same things that you are. And when you're in that community, it strengthens you, it encourages you, it lets you know that we're not by ourselves, we're not on this isolated island. I would even say, if you know that is some area that is a growth area for you, seek out other like-minded couples to just connect with. And the essence, the key to that is everybody got to like each other. He has to like her and she has to like him. That cross, you know, husband and wife, and, you know, they got to love marriage too. They got to love being married to each other, and you got to enjoy each other's company. If you're not compatible, don't even waste your time. If I don't like her, as far as the cross relationship, and he don't like her or whatever, or me and the guy don't connect, or Renee and the girl don't connect, just go your separate ways, because it's not going to work out. Yeah. Don't even waste your time. Just go find another couple that you can be compatible with, but don't stop seeking out community.
Yeah. I'm definitely big on, you know, even in the community that I created to focus on self-care. I'm very big on healing out loud and healing with a community. Yeah. And, you know, it's self-care. So that is something that we get to do by ourselves. Mm-hmm. However, we also have this ability to do that with others. And I love the fact that technology has evolved so much over the years that, you know, we can sit down and actually talk to people in other countries and, you know, things all over the world before we have to show up, you know, this wouldn't be possible.
I love it. We've been doing this for a long time. Before it was awesome. A thing, we've been doing this.
It's so awesome to meet people across the wire, you know, and then it's like, we've never met each other physically, but we feel like you know each other.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that you can build, you know, afterwards. I have this thing that I do. And you guys are definitely going to be invited to the coffee chat. All right. It's better than being invited to the cookouts. Okay. I do a virtual coffee chat. And it's a way for me to stay connected with the guests from the podcast, because I feel like, you know, once we sit here and we have these conversations, now I'm like, okay, I want more, you know, and I want to be able to pour more. And I love celebrating wins with people. And so it helps you to build that network or build that community, because some people don't have that locally. And so when you can get online and you can find your people, like I call it your soul tribe. When you find your people that feel like sunshine, you got to hold on to them.
Oh man.
Very true. Something else that I want to share that is so crucial to healthy relationships that thrive is that we give each other permission to be honest about when we are doing well, when we are being ugly, when we are being unlovable, when we're being unkind, without fear of judgment or reprisal. Because I need to have someone in my life who's going to say, hey, that was really ugly. That really wasn't kind. Because sometimes you don't see your growth areas. And I have that with my husband, and I have that with my sisters. And like Gil said, I have this relationship with him, but I also have relationships with other women who are where I'm at, where I want to be, and where I was, because that's an important part of development. and making sure that you're taking someone along with you on that journey. And so that was just something that I recently just really have been practicing. Hey, tell me when I'm missing it, because you can't change what you don't know. And so I think that's something that you should have that as a couple. But I also opened it up to some of my really close girlfriends. Say, hey, tell me when I'm being ugly. Don't just agree with me. Don't just tell me. I don't want people around me who are afraid of me, because then you can't help me grow if you're afraid of me. Because I'm human, just like you are. So, or enamored with me. I'm human.
Yeah. No, my dad taught me very early on that people can only be held accountable for what they know. And so I remind people of that, to say, hey, if I'm doing wrong, if you don't agree, let's talk about it. It doesn't have to be for you
Not
to prove
somebody
you're right.
else.
Yeah. Come to me. Yeah, exactly. Talk to me. Go directly to the source.
Get your brother, go to your brother. Don't talk about it with somebody else, because that's just being messy.
Absolutely. And we got enough of that in the world. We don't need no more of it.
Absolutely.
We don't need that.
And so with all that you guys pour into the world, I know that, you also have to protect your own union. How do you stay grounded and connected with each other while serving, other couples and teaching and, even leading your ministry? What boundaries, I guess, or practices keep your marriage strong?
Something that we've been recently trying to embrace more of is have fun. We used to think about, when we were dating, all the things that we used to do, everything from going out and driving go-karts to putt-putt golf. I'm talking activities now, really, that we work a lot in our natural vocations that we have, but also in the ministry. So it's almost like you got 3 jobs. You remember that old TV show, I Got 15 Jobs, man?
Right.
It's the same thing, where you feel like you got a lot going on, where you have to have time where you decompress and stop doing the work, and still just have fun and enjoy each other's company. We can have fun just driving, just going for a drive. We enjoy. We're just that simple. We're not complicated. We just did it the other day, where we just took a drive looking at some areas that we're thinking about, property and stuff like that, just driving around, and talking about dreams and goals and aspirations and what's on our minds, and just sharing life. While life be life, and like you said at the beginning of this, that can also be good too, where you can bond and unite and come together with. So that activity. And then I recently got back into bowling. So that's something else, that is something that I did for years and years and years. And I just stopped. Life happens, but you just let things stop, and you don't even remember why they stopped. It wasn't a super expensive thing to do. Yeah, you can always be busy, but there are some things that you just got to keep doing to keep you just having fun.
So I would say connect daily. We hug and kiss each other every single day.
A couple times a day.
Multiple times a day. Date weekly. We have a date night. We go out on a date. If it's a ride, or if it's a movie, or if it's sitting and watching movies at home,
or getting on a plane and going to another place.
And then getting away as a couple annually. You need a trip where it's just the two of you, where you're not trying to serve, where you're going to serve each other. And those are just some of the things, daily, weekly, and annually, getting away. Because if you make that a part of your rhythm, then you have to put yourselves on your schedule. Everybody else, like what Gil was saying, I've decided next year, I'm going to put myself on my schedule. I'm going to start doing something that I want to do for me as physical, working out or something. And so it's just a matter of, just having those things that are really important to you. If something is important to you, put it on your schedule. And so that would be something I would say, connect daily, physically, emotionally, spiritually. We pray together, dating each other weekly, and then annually getting away and just spending time as a couple together.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I recently have become even more focused on being intentional in, all areas of my life, my relationship, my business. And I told my husband, because I just kind of tested it out this year, I wanted to take an entire month off from work. And being a person who micromanages, it's hard to think of putting everything down for the business and walking away for 30 days. but I was like, I can do this. So in October,
Did you do it?
I did. I took the
Nice.
entire month off. And when I came back, November and December were completely packed. And, I was like, oh, like the world didn't end. And so I told my husband, I said, I'm going to do that every quarter. And that's going to be for me. And so it broke down for, February being my birthday month. Yeah. Then next quarter, June being his, and then October being our anniversary. Right. I'm like, oh, we about to be out here in these streets, baby. We're about to take trips, you know, if we can both do that. And so I've been encouraging him to do that because we're blessed to both own our own businesses. So we work for ourselves. That's and right. It's like, why not? Why not take that time? And, we work so hard all year long. So let's just take a whole month to do what we want.
And you got to end with the boss. So
yes, exactly. Because he loves me, right?
Yeah.
Now, for the person tuning in, whether they're single, healing, or in a relationship, what message of faith, hope, or guidance would you want them to carry forward about building rich love?
Our saying is, my favorite Bible verse is Romans 5:8. While we were yet still in sin, Jesus died for us. You are human. Give yourself the freedom to be human and to know that just like you are, you're more than enough. And the person that's for you is going to love all of you. And that you don't have to shrink or over exaggerate yourself. Take the time to love yourself the way God loves you. And then that way you'll be able to love the person in your life and the people around you in a way that makes them feel celebrated and not controlled.
And for me, it's my life scripture, Proverbs 3:5-7. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him first, and he will direct your path. That makes it so much easier for me to live life. That it just makes it so much easier to know that I'm not responsible for the life. Just like you said, the world won't end because Gil is not doing something.
Yeah, right.
I have to put all the things that I care and concerned about at his feet and write my plans in pencil and not pen. And it's always funny. He laughs at the plans when I tell him what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's just such great advice for everyone listening. Now, for those who want to go deeper, I know that your books give couples a roadmap. Starting with the singles blueprint, right? Mm-hmm. Dating and marriage. Could you tell us a little bit about what to expect to gain from this?
You mentioned the framework earlier about outlines of things. Well, this is what we came up with as an outline for singles because the singles are underrepresented. There's always marriage things going on for couples and things like that. Well, this was on Renee's heart big time for the singles to say, you know what, who's thinking about the singles and helping them? I think about when we were single, where can you go and get godly advice about what to expect even in dating? And if you're just dating or you have aspirations to get married, what does that look like? Well, that's what this really does. It helps you with some practical things to kind of help you in the dating cycle. And if your desire is to transition into marriage, you can do that. And that's what will guide you along the way and kind of give you some auntie, some TT, and some uncle advice. That's how we look at it, to say, you know what, this can actually help you if you're single.
And the red list, there's a list in there, red flags.
Page 71.
Oh my gosh. That list alone makes the book valuable. Because if you look at that list not for the other person, and see people look at that red list, oh yeah, girl, I was dating him and he was a red flag. What on this list that makes you a red flag? Yeah. Because sometimes we're single, not because of the people we're trying to date. And we have an app, it's called R.I.C.H Marriage Mentors. So many times we think that dating apps don't work. And it's not that dating apps don't work. We haven't done the work. And so between the dating app, the premarital app and the singles blueprint, it's just designed to help us get to a healthy place where we'll be in a position and a posture to even think about dating from a biblical perspective so that we have realistic expectations.
Absolutely. And then I believe it moves over to Elevate. Is that the partner to this?
Yes.
Okay.
That is if you decide, let's do community. Let's get together. Girl, I read that book and I love this. I want to do a community group. I want to get with my girlfriends so we can work on this together. Or I want to get with my bros. That's what Elevate is. Elevate is designed to help you get ready premarital. And in the state of Texas, when you take any of our courses, you can get $70 off of your marriage license. And it allows you to waive the 72-hour waiting period, because Texas requires that you have training before you get married. That's one of the reasons we love living in the state of Texas.
And this is great, because even if you feel, I want to lead a group, but you really just don't know the structure behind it, this is just a turn the page and just read what's in the pages and just kind of lead the group. You're not leading the group in the sense of responsible for coming up with curriculums and questions and all that kind of stuff.
We do that.
This is done already for you. You're just a facilitator. You're asking things to prompt you. We put everything in there, from object lessons to questions to answer during those quiet times to how to lead it, all the way through all 12 weeks.
Absolutely. And then we have the marital code to Oneness workbook.
Yes, and that workbook, this month, we're going to release the actual book, which is our marital code to workness, which is the book with 19 other couples, where they're going to talk about all these different topics: communication, conflict resolution, roles and responsibilities, blended families. And so we're going to bring that out this year, because we realize that most couples by the first of the year have already gone their separate ways. And we want to do everything we can in our power to equip couples with the tools, community support, and mentorship they need to be able to thrive in their marriages.
And, and we don't say we have the answers to everything, but we do have some answers. So we collaborated with these 12 other authors, 19 other authors. And it's over 500 years of experience between all of us. So that's a lot of years.
And it was written in 2020.
And it's different perspectives, so people can read those and say, get a different perspective. Maybe it's a whole way of thinking about something different that maybe is new and more enlightening.
Yeah. And I love the diversity in that, because I think a lot of people look at marriage as kind of a one size fits all thing. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that every marriage is different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you mentioned before, someone gave you advice and it was just work on your marriage. And you're like, okay, I'm ready. Like, what's next? And it's like, no, you have to work on your marriage, because the advice that I would give has nothing to do with your marriage. So if you've got a question about your marriage, ask your partner. That's the only person who can tell you, outside of obviously you praying and getting your guidance from God. But other than that, like, you have to go to your person.
And the good part about all these books is that's the work that when we say work on your marriage,
that's the work.
This can actually help you.
We give you the work.
We show you some of the work, just like if you were in school and you get homework.
Yeah.
It's not like that kind of work, though.
Yeah. But I think a part of what you're saying is true, is that the only person that can tell you that you're a good wife or a good husband is your mate. But the only way you're going to be better at the areas where you struggle, because the thing that makes me sad is that marriage is something that God created that requires skill. It requires tools. It requires accountability. It requires community. It requires mentorship. And if you don't get that, you're not going to be able to, between the two of you, you're not going to be able to figure it out. You're not going to be able to make your marriage better in and of yourselves. You need outside insights and wisdom and community and support and accountability to do that, because marriage was never designed to be an island to yourself. Yes, it's the two of you, but again, as Gil said, our marriages are our gift back to God for Him blessing us to be able to spend the rest of our life with the other person.
Absolutely. Now, for those listening who want to stay connected with you, how can they reach out to you guys and kind of tap in to receive some of your services?
Well, we actually have a YouTube channel where we have over 2,500 videos. We'd love for them to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We go live once a week on YouTube to kind of connect with our community where it's more personal. We have a podcast. We have an app. We have a website, Rich Relationship Refuge. So it just really depends on, we want to meet you where you are. If you like reading books, go to Barnes & Noble and go to get our books. If you want to hear a podcast, go to any podcasting platform and put in Rich Relationship Refuge. If you like to watch videos, go to YouTube. If If you just want to see pictures, you can go to Instagram. So we're on every single platform, including TikTok, as Rich Relationship Refuge.
Absolutely. And family, don't worry. I am going to put plenty of links in the description. So that way you get what you need by any means necessary, right?
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we appreciate you so much.
Listen, my heart is so full right now. I am so excited. And I can't wait to, sit down with my husband and watch this episode. Because it's always good, just to be able to have that moment. But I want to take this opportunity to thank both of you for pouring into this community with such honesty and grace and God-led wisdom.
No, thank you for having us.
Anytime. I honestly believe that your rich framework is not just a model. It's ministry, and it's a reminder that real love isn't something that you stumble into. It's something that you build.
Yes.
It could start with a pencil, right? It started with a pencil, but it is something that you have to. Yeah, good game. A good game helps to start the things. But in seriousness, it is something that you have to build, something that you have to fight every day to protect, and something that you practice every single day.
Yes, very true.
Yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Listen, I love being loved, and I love to give the love right back. So I'll tell you, I receive all the love and I'll reciprocate it all right back to you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Now, family, listen. If today's episode blessed your spirit, drop a green heart in the chat. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe and, tap in with Gil and Renee. Tap into the Rich Relationship Refuge. And I'm pretty sure your future self will thank you. Now, before we part ways, let me leave you all with a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels just out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you will always be seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon.